it's time for me to introduce our keynote speaker, Lars Stenqvist, our Chief Technology Officer of the Volvo Group. Lars joined us in 2016 with a long background from the automotive industry, and he actually studied here in Gothenburg at Chalmers University. So Lars will walk us through the paradigm shift from automotive to mobility. And please feel free to ask questions along the way in the chat, and we will collect them and post them to Lars at the end. Go ahead, Lars.
Thank you, Susanne. Great to see you all, to meet you all, even though it's a virtual event. Society is transforming and our industry is transforming, and a lot of this is technology driven. I've been working in the transport industry for 30 years, and I can say it has never been as exciting as now being an engineer in our industry. A few facts around the Volvo Group. It's a rather big company, 100,000 employees, active across the globe, selling our products on 190 markets. I normally say that if you take North Korea and a few others, then you have the markets where we don't sell our products. For the rest, you can buy our products across the globe. Operating 12 brands in total, and size-wise a normal year. I normally say that we are a 40 billion euro, 400 billion SEK company with an R&D investment of 2 billion euros or 20 billion SEK per year, 11,000 engineers. We are developing and producing trucks, buses, and construction equipment, engines for marine and industrial purposes. And we normally say that we have left the stage when we saw ourselves as a truck, bus, construction equipment manufacturer. Today, we are delivering solutions to our customers, delivering solutions to society. And we believe in that our solutions are driving prosperity across the globe. And if you think about it, transport and infrastructure solutions is so vital for society. We believe in more transport. I know that everyone in society doesn't do that, but there are so many global indicators pointing in this direction. Growing global population, growing urbanization, and not the least, an increase in e-commerce. But we are the first ones to underline that more transport, but it must be within the boundaries of the planet, within the boundaries of what the planet can cope with. And this is a huge challenge for society, for our industry, and for the Volvo Group. We are talking about a completely fossil-free transport system, on-road and off-road. This is nothing less than a transformation, a paradigm shift, or even a revolution. And very much of this will be driven by engineers, by technology. This is our vision of what needs to happen. We are committed to the Paris Agreement, meaning if you start to the right on this slide, we need to have a fossil-free running fleet of vehicles at the latest by 2050. But our vehicles are operating on the roads and off-road for approximately 10 years. And that means that from 2014 onwards, we can only deliver fossil-free solutions. That is our commitment. We have made thorough analysis, and we do not believe that there will be enough biofuel available so that we only can rely on the combustion engines going forward. So we believe that the majority of the vehicles towards 2040 will be electric, will be a mix of battery electric and fuel cell electric vehicles. And we also believe that we will have applications for the long run, utilizing combustion engines, but then running of that limited amount of biofuel that will be addressed to our industry. I think that biofuel will be rather expensive, but there are definitely applications where the combustion engines will be the sweet spot anyhow. This is the game when it comes to products, but we are very dependent on the energy and energy mix as such. And of course, it's of no use if we develop electric vehicles and then the electricity will be generated from any kind of not renewable sources. So in parallel with our development, it is of extremely high importance that we get the energy transition going in parallel. We need a lot of more generation of green electricity. We will need a lot of green hydrogen going forward, and definitely also then, as I was into, green biofuels as well. I think that the biggest challenge for society will be the increased generation and distribution of green energy. So 100% fossil free from a tailpipe perspective from 2040. But that's not enough. We are promising more than that. We are talking about 100% fossil free also when it comes to products as such and the manufacturing footprint. And that means that we are talking about carbon neutral products. We are talking about circularity at a completely different level than just a few years ago. And in October, we showed the first vehicle ever, world's first vehicle built using fossil-free steel. This is a very good example of a great partnership between Volvo Group and the Swedish steel manufacturer SSAB. They are early out, they are first out with production of fossil-free steel using hydrogen instead of coal in the direct reduction process. So this vehicle, here we used 3 tons, 3,000 kilo of fossil-free steel when we built it. And even though in low volumes, this will go into serial production next year as a vehicle as this, fully electric, fully autonomous dumper to be used in quarries and mines. But we will also start to use in limited volumes some components on our standard trucks, also using fossil-free steel already from next year and onwards. Then it will be a game of supply and demand. And we see that all the big steel manufacturers are onto this now. So this is one example when it comes to steel. The same must happen, will happen when it comes to plastic, to go for fossil-free alternatives there and other components. One very challenging area is around electronics. If you take the weight percentage of electronics in our vehicles, it's a rather small share. But if you take the CO2 footprint, it's rather massive. So that's also an industry that needs to make this transformation. Another technology area of high interest where we are investing a lot is autonomous driving. And to be honest, it is in commercial vehicle industry where this really will take off. It is in commercial vehicle industry that you will find the business cases. We have divided autonomous solutions into 3 segments or 3 areas, starting from left, confined areas. You can think about mines and quarries. Rather easy between brackets use cases because you can fence it off. You can control 100% what other traffic you have in that mine or quarry. Next segment is what we call the first mile, starting at the ports, the terminals, and transport from a port terminal up to a logistics center or between logistics centers. We think that we are talking about rather short distances here. We are talking about sort of shuttle traffic between a port terminal and a logistics center, 5 kilometers, 5 miles, something like that. Partly public roads. That's an important statement. Low speeds, repetitive flows. But as soon as you go onto public roads, you need to have a safety system on a completely different level. Because on public roads, that's the definition of public, anything can happen. You can meet anyone, anywhere, anytime. And then to the very right, we also believe in what we call the middle mile, hub to hub on highways, from, let's say, entrance 11 to exit 38 on a highway. You will have some kind of cross-docking next to the highways, and then drivers will take control of the trailer for the rest of the transport. Here, we are talking about high speed on highway, and the high speed adds a lot of complexity to these kind of systems. And here we're working in this area of autonomous solutions. We're working very much in an ecosystem of partners together with other high-tech companies then developing the necessary technologies to make this happen. We are already starting production from the left on this slide with a lot of customer interest in mines and in quarries. And next step will be the first mile applications, and the third step will be the middle mile or the highway applications. So we are adding a lot of new technologies, and this is a shift both for us as an organization, but also for us as individuals. For the organization, it's a lot about recruitment. Who do we need to recruit today, tomorrow? Is it the same kind of competencies as yesterday or something else? How do we make sure that we can retain our talents in our organization? What makes us attractive as an employer? How can we work with partnerships? What kind of collaborations do we need to set up? Are we talking about joint ventures or other more loose partnerships? Acquisitions when it comes to competence, when it comes to technology, competence upgrades of our employees, and not the least university collaborations. It's a true discussion of ecosystem utilization. For individuals, for us all, it's about realizing that this lifelong learning is here for real. You have to invest in your balance sheet. If not, then you will become obsolete over time. We have very good experience now in moving people from more traditional technologies like combustion engines into electromobility. I have learned over the last years that for a curious engineer, it's not hard to switch domain. It starts with your curiosity. Regarding innovation, we also need to be much more open-minded than in the past. We are accelerating our collaborations with startups. We have a concept that we call Camp X. We have rolled it out in Gothenburg and in India. Now, next step is in France and then US. It's an open innovation arena, cross-functional, cross-sectorial, cross-industrial, where we are inviting startups to come and work together with us in partnerships. And this is an amazing journey. We're learning a lot, we're gaining a lot, and I can also say that it's really a great support to these startup companies. So we have a lot to do, and I dare to say that acceleration is key. Speed is key. And then, of course, you can question, how can a big company, 400 billion SEK company, how can such a company be quick? Can we compete with newcomers, with startup companies? What is our comparative advantage? We spell that advantage: cost, common architecture, and shared technology. Whenever our engineers are working on new solutions, on new technologies, we always do it with the mindset of being able to reuse it across the group. We are talking about standardized interfaces, solutions that can be used for trucks, buses, construction equipment, marine engines, or by our partners in our joint ventures and in our formed alliances. By doing so, we can really speed up development. I have one very good example of this, and it comes from the area of electric vehicles. We were very early out in buses, full electric city buses. By then, the interest from trucks, construction equipment was rather limited. But from an engineering technology perspective, it was already from the beginning decided that the batteries, the electrical motors, the power electronics for buses, they were designed in a way that it was easy later to introduce them also in trucks and construction equipment. That is the reason why we now are massively rolling out electric vehicles across the group and across the globe, Europe and North America. We are pioneers in the area of electric construction equipment, excavators, wheel loaders, in the area of electric heavy-duty trucks, refuse applications, regional haul applications, Europe, North America, and very strong player when it comes to electric buses. If we would have had another mindset where the different business areas were developing their own technologies, we would be at least 2 years later in this rollout. So today I can proudly say that as pioneers, we are not only delivering to a market, we are, as a matter of fact, creating the market of electric vehicles as we speak. So once again, a technology-driven transformation in a world of much more open ecosystems, much more partnership, much more innovations. And I dare to say that on this journey, management of IP will be key. And by that, I open up for any questions or comments from you listening. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lars. It's Mike here. Thanks for a very inspiring presentation. Great to hear about the transformation and the opening up ecosystem. I do have some questions here for you. Are you surprised at all at the speed of the change that is coming, or would you say you've seen it coming?
Well, I think that we rather often are surprised by the change. I wouldn't say that I'm surprised, more that I am sort of impressed by how fast we can adapt to the change. And if you think about it, that in 10 years' time, from 2020 to 2030, we're going to transform the system, or 2020 to 2040, from 100% fossil-based to fossil-free. From a society perspective, I think it's a rather fast transformation, but I'm certainly sure that we can do it as a company and society.
Mm. Good to hear. And it's interesting when you talk about dates like 2030 and 2040, because obviously the children, the people who are entering university at this time, they're going to potentially be the key engineers to deliver that transformation. What advice or guidance or tips would you give to the young people who are thinking about engineering or even embarking on an engineering journey?
To start with, I think that you have a point here talking about children and next generation. I'm a father of 3 children. I must say that with the story that we now have, with the activities we now have on board, it's not difficult to engage in discussions with them around the dinner table on what we need to do and what we intend to deliver. And I dare to say that they are even rather proud of, let's say, what we are doing. My daughter, then, that is rather grown up, she's even investing in Volvo shares right now. So I think that I've done something good at least there. Advice to young people, I see an increased interest in engineering and in science in many countries. I think that we have a common task here in order to tell this story, because it will be a very exciting journey, and we definitely need a lot of engineers on board. I can tell them all that, let's say, the automotive sector, transport industry, will be extremely exciting. And I have a little bit of a problem, Mike, because my title is Chief Technology Officer. And then there are a number of other companies that sort of have taken the definition of tech companies as their proprietary, intellectual proprietary and proprietary. And so for me, I'm the Chief Technology Officer of a non-tech company. But when I look into my portfolio, I can definitely tell you it's high-tech. It's nothing else than high-tech. So for anyone that is interested in a combination of mechanics, electronics, and software, it's a very exciting industry to be in. But the most important for us all is to manage to get more students into science and engineering.
Mm. Yes, completely agree. I'm also encouraging my son and my daughter. Interesting question from the audience, actually, which picks up a bit on what you were talking about, Lars. The question is do you see a need for open standards, such as in 5G, in the transport sector? And is Volvo Group intending to take a leadership position in creating those standards, or rely on others to create them?
There will be, and there is a need for standards, and there are already some standards in place when it comes to communication. But if you think about more vehicle-to-vehicle communication, vehicle-to-infrastructure communication, there is and there will definitely be a need for more standards. We are active in this kind of standardization for us. It's part of, let's say, normal business for us to be an active part in both, let's say, when it comes to new legislation and when it comes to new standardization. So yes, it will come, and we are active.
Mm. Very good. And we have a question from Suzanne as well.
Yeah, I thought I would jump in with a question to you, Lars. You told a bit about the right mindset, being curious. That's very important for an engineer. And also about Campex, where we are today, our innovation center, one of those. Do you also have some examples of day-to-day activities where we actually create engagement for innovation in the Volvo Group, which you can share?
Absolutely. We are more and more using what we call tech talks, where we let our experts tell their colleagues about their field of expertise, their domain. And this is it's rewarding from both sides. The experts, they really enjoy sharing their knowledge, and the audience, then be it face-to-face audience or virtual audience, they are truly enjoying them to learn about new things. And rather often they are also amazed and surprised about that we are that good in that field, the technology field as well. So that's one area where we're creating engagement. We have a lot of workshops in different areas to solve technical issues, but also more open-minded innovation workshops where we are identifying an area, and then we go for very, let's say, open-minded brainstorming sessions just to pick the brains of those ones participating in the workshops, and then handing those ideas over to those ones that we call the technology owners or product owners to take them further then. So a lot of those kind of activities, Susanne.
Thank you very much. A lot of activities around us.
Would you perhaps like to expand a bit, Lars, on the role that Camp X will play in all of that?
Camp X is not a building, it's a concept. And I've seen a lot of other companies starting up sort of kind of innovation garages and innovation facilities. We already from the beginning decided that we would like to have our innovation facilities integrated with our engineers. So in the building where you are today, we are then inviting a selected number of partners. Sometimes it's big tier 1 companies, and in many cases it's small startups. We are having a selection process. We are selecting those ones that we really want to work with, and we are inviting them to sit and work in our premises then side by side with all our experts. And this that they are working together, really sitting together, has proven to be very beneficial. We are gaining a lot of knowledge around that. We have also learned that we should be very specific in our needs. In the beginning, we were a little bit shooting from the hip, inviting interesting startups to sit together with us. But now we have learned that we should be much more focused, starting with the real demand. What kind of issues is it that we would like to have solved? And then finding interesting startups that have solutions in that area or that domain. That makes life much more easier for us and for those startups as well. And we have a process where we really quickly want to gain knowledge, want to have proof of value for the collaboration, and then to decide if we should stop or if we should take it into some kind of technology or product going forward. So with this, we have managed to enhance our ecosystem, and I dare to say that it is rather much of a problem to work with a big company and a small startup company. So we have also then managed to simplify a lot of the contractual work with these startups. We can rather easily now sign a contract regarding IP, regarding different kind of regulations in between us, just to get going. And here we get feedback from others as well that we have found something unique in that collaboration setup. Now we will further roll it out, as I said, after Gothenburg, after Bangalore. Now it will be Lyon in France, it will be Greensboro in US, and most likely China as the next one. Good concept.
Yeah, very good. I can certainly confirm that just walking through Camp X, when I do, even early this morning, it was a vibrant and dynamic atmosphere with people from various different companies. So impressive and very fun environment to be in as well. You mentioned IP just now, Lars, so there is a question from the audience relating to that. Traditional automotive companies have enormous patent portfolios. How effective are they for preventing others from entering the market, do you think?
Well, we have a lot of discussions around IP and patents going forward, and we see clearly, and we are very active. We are increasing our efforts when it comes to applying for patents. We still believe definitely that this is a vital part for us to protect our business. we are investing, as I said, 2 billion euro, 20 billion SEK every year in research and development. There must be some kind of way for us to protect our intellectual property then going forward and make sure that we get out the competitiveness of our products. We see cases, we have cases where we see that the other companies are trying to utilize technologies that we have protected. So it's definitely an efficient system for us to use. I dare to say that we have sharpened our way when it comes to working with patents. We are applying for patents in exactly those domains where we are convinced that this will increase our competitiveness going forward. And even though we have sharpened the number of domains, we are increasing the amount of patents that we are filing. So I think it's good in 2 dimensions.
Mm. Yeah, thank you, Lars. I thought you might have turned the question back to me, but that was an excellent answer. Thank you. Okay, I think it's about time to wrap up and move on to our next keynote speaker. So thank you very much, Lars. That was really excellent.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope you will have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.